All right. Hello. My name is Kyle. I am 27. I have a stutter, um, pretty severe anxiety and depression, and history of substance abuse. And I just want to talk to you about that today. Talk to you about um, where it brought me, where I've been, and where I'm going, and where I would like to take my life. And maybe it can be of some comfort, knowledge, and in return, maybe help me to vocalize my issues and get through them. So yeah, 27, and I have a stutter, which might sound shocking because I'm talking fluently right now. So if anyone's like, I don't hear him stuttering at all, you haven't seen me in a McDonald's drive-thru. So don't speak too soon. I have a very weird stutter. I had a speech therapist in middle school who told me that I had the most bizarre stutter she'd ever seen, and that she couldn't help me. That was beneficial. That definitely made me feel better. Um, so I can talk very fluently, especially in one-on-one settings, something like this. Even like any sort of professional setting, if I go to see a doctor, um, any sort of a therapy session, even like an interview, I can usually do pretty good with minimal to potentially no stuttering at all. It gets really bad when I'm in group settings, um, ordering food, specifically drive-thrus are just like the bane of my existence. Subway, can't stand Subway because at least if I go to like McDonald's, like, all right, I might stutter when saying McChicken, but at least just two McChickens and a Big Mac and I'm done. You go to Subway and it's like I have to say every specific thing, like down to the minute detail about that stupid sandwich. But when you want that sandwich, you make it happen. Um, all jokes aside, it's been difficult. It's been very, very difficult. And I think it's one thing I will add to that. Unlike a lot of people that have a severe stutter, not all. Some cannot get past their words. Some just get blocked forever. But a lot of people that stutter regularly, like every few words, they get past it quickly. That's not me. When I stutter, I'm blocked. I'm blocked for 5, 10, 15, even 20 seconds sometimes. It's brutal. And the fact that it doesn't happen all the time, it only happens in certain scenarios, means that I never really get used to it. I never, there's days where I'll almost forget that I stutter. And then I get put into a situation where I literally can't even say my name. Or, and I can't say this one food item that's on a menu. And it hurts because it's not like I'm either fluent or I'm not. And there's like a duality there. There's a break there that's hard to come to terms with. So growing up, that was difficult. Growing up, there was people making fun of me. I dealt with some ridicule, becoming the butt of the joke. But I didn't get bullied that bad. And I think that's due to how I let the stutter affect me. I quickly learned at a young age that it was better for me to just be quiet. It was better for me to just hide, blend in. I was the quiet, awkward kid that didn't say a lot. I had my friends, I had my close friends, and I wasn't totally reclusive. had a girlfriend in high school, and after high school, you know, I've done things throughout my life. I haven't just sat in a room forever, but I learned early on that I shouldn't raise my hand. I shouldn't introduce myself to people, you know, kind of very, very quickly, early, learning to be a follower, not a leader, because it was safer for me. And that worked, but I still got, you know, you can't avoid everything forever. I still got shoved into situations, you know, having to speak in front of a class, do a presentation on the Roman Empire or something that is gonna bring it all up to the surface. And that's when I discovered at 14 the lovely world of getting high. I tried weed for the first time, and I was instantly hooked. And looking back on it, there was a difference between my use of marijuana compared to some others that I knew. A lot of people just enjoyed it. A lot of people just enjoyed the high and saw it as a fun thing. I saw it as the escape route from my life, from my mind. It didn't matter that I didn't have confidence. It didn't matter that I didn't like who I was, that I wasn't happy with who I was. It didn't matter that I could barely say my own name because I had a bong bowl to smoke. You know? I could get high and forget. I could get high and numb. I could get high and escape. And that really started my downfall. I think that if I had pushed a little harder when I was younger, a little harder with trying to get past the stutter, or coming to terms with it at least, and not have fell into the trap of drugs, that things probably would have gone better. But you know, hindsight's 2020. And that led to years and years of all I wanted to do was get high. I mean, I remember telling myself when I was like 16, and I thought it was normal, telling myself that I didn't want to be sober. I didn't like being sober. It was not a desirable state of mind. It was not a spot that I saw any benefit. Sobriety became the enemy. And in a way, that made me really happy, because I had a new enemy. My enemy was not my stutter. My enemy was not my anxiety. My enemy was not myself, at least on the surface. The fog that it gave me led me to believe this. My new enemy was not having enough weed for the weekend. And that just became my life. I used to be really into art. I was really into drawing. I was really into anime, manga. I was really into video games. Nothing spectacular here, you know. I wasn't the star quarterback, or didn't have a 4.0 or anything great. I wasn't doing anything crazy or amazing, but I had my passions, and I was starting to get pretty good with art. I was pretty dang good at drawing, and whenever I got into getting high all the time, nothing mattered to me. I stopped watching anime. I stopped playing video games. Things that you would think people do when they get high. No, weed made me so lazy and so laser focused on the weed that I literally didn't care to do any of that. I didn't draw anymore. My grades slipped. I used to be, making A's and B's in middle school and, obviously in elementary school. And those quickly turned into C's, which quickly turned into D's, which turned into being on the edge of not graduating. But I did graduate. So, all the haters out there saying I didn't graduate high school. I don't think I have haters, but if I did, they would say I didn't graduate, and I did, barely. But yeah, it sucked all of the essence, the energy, the personality, and all I wanted to do was sit down, get high, maybe listen to some music, and that was it. And that was my life. That was my life from 14, 15 till about 22. 22, we hit, if you can do a little bit of math, I'm 27, 22, 5 years ago, COVID hit. And I did not handle COVID well. When it first was starting out, we really had no idea what it was. We didn't know how dangerous it was. Lockdowns ensued. And I had my first panic attack. Now, I'd always had anxiety, especially social anxiety, a little bit of existential dread thrown in there for good measure. But this was the first time that I was like, oh, I'm dying. That's simply what's happening. I'm dying. And I was at work, and I just felt this dread come over me. My heart rate shot up like exponentially, soaking in sweat. Remember, I ran to the bathroom, stripped almost naked in the stall, just sitting there like shaking, like just standing up, shaking, like feeling like I'm at 1,000 degrees. It was scary, very, very scary. I calmed myself down a little bit, enough to at least call my boss and say, I'm leaving. I don't know what's going on, but I don't feel good. I'm out of here. So I went home, and what does a stoner do when they don't feel good? You smoke weed. So I'm like, okay, I don't know what that was. I don't know what just happened to me, but I got the perfect solution. I'm gonna roll up a blunt, and just like for the last 8 years of my life, all my problems are going to just magically go away. And they didn't. They didn't go away. When I smoked that blunt, the anxiety all came back. The panic attack came back. And it set me into a sheer shock, because I was like, what is this? Why the one thing that has been my rock, my solace, my, anchor to feeling okay, just slapped me in the face. What do I do with that? So I think at this point, I had been drinking a little more. I was 22. I just, it was kind of like a social party weekend thing. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a few beers, and that did calm me down. Went to bed, went to work the next day. Got home from work, rolled up like normal. Panic attack again. I was like, okay, a switch has been flipped. There's something that happened in me this is not going well anymore. So I took it upon myself that I would quit using weed, which then sent me into a spiral of weed withdrawals, which, a lot of people out there would probably claim that that's not an actual thing. it is a thing. Some people might not think it is, and that's fine. People can have their own opinions and anecdotal evidence, but this is my anecdotal evidence. It was a few weeks to about a month of pure insanity. Panic attacks daily, night sweats, shaking, basically almost psychosis. Went to the hospital, I think twice. It was a weird, rough time. Not sleeping, barely sleeping, maybe 2 hours a night if I was lucky. And that, literally the day that started, is when my daily drinking just took full effect, because I could not fathom the idea of being sober. I knew the weed was a problem, but I couldn't understand that sobriety was something that I needed. So I started drinking every single day. And when I say drink every single day, I wasn't waking up with the shakes, grabbing the bottle and pouring out in the morning, throwing a couple shots in my coffee. It wasn't like that. I stayed sober throughout most of the day, and then when I got off work, I'd drink 5 to 8 beers on a normal night, and then a few more on the weekends. And I thought it was normal. I thought that I'd figured it out. I really did. I really thought I was a genius. I was like, all these idiots smoking weed, they don't understand that the real thing you should be doing is becoming an alcoholic. You see, I figured it out. That was legitimately my thought process. Safe to say I was wrong. The answer to my problems was not to become a drunk, but it took me a while to figure that out. I drank every day from 2020 until last year, and this is where I guess this takes a turn, and some people may not, agree or associate with this, but Jesus saved my life. Simple as that. I don't know what else to say. I grew up a little Christian, not very Christian. I didn't, my parents didn't go to church, and it wasn't, a big part of our life. But I became atheist in my teenage years. I think right around 14. In fact, right before I started smoking weed, I decided that God isn't real. And you tell me if there's a correlation there. Who knows? But yeah, last year I broke down in my car, and I prayed. I prayed that God would, if he would, to help me to overcome my stutter, help me to accept myself for who I am. And I also prayed that he would allow me to cry, because I had a lot of pent up emotions, and I hadn't cried in quite a long time, probably about at least a year. So, did my little prayer, got home, drank my little beers, took my little self to bed. Woke up, and I wanted to go on a walk, because I was in this phase where I was like, well, if I'm gonna keep drinking like I am, I need to counteract it. There's gotta be a plus and a minus here. So let me go on a walk in the mornings. That'll fix it, right? So I get in my car to drive to this park. It's a few miles away from my apartment, and I put on a random YouTube video. First video popped up, just algorithm. It's gonna feed you something to watch. So I put on the first video, and it's a video about introverts versus extroverts. by a famous YouTuber, Healthy Gamer GG. Shout out Healthy Gamer, amazing content. But anyways, put on the video, driving to the park, not really thinking about much, just listening to the video, and maybe like a minute left in the video, 45 seconds left in the video. And he says, and if you have a stutter, that's okay. Having a stutter doesn't make you a bad person. And I broke down. I broke down like I haven't in a long, long time. The video had nothing to do with a stutter. It was about introverts and extroverts. It had no correlation to a stutter. And stutters, speech impediments, are not things that I hear about commonly out in the wild. It's less than 1% of the population that even has a stutter. So, that's not the most common thing. So I kind of knew in that moment that something was listening to me. I wasn't 100% sure what that thing was, but it heard me. It definitely heard me, and it wanted to talk to me. It wanted to let me know that I was okay. I was okay the way I was. And I then was driving down the road a few weeks later, drove past this church, and they had a sign up front saying, "Do you need a prayer?" And I just kept driving, didn't even really think about it. I got a couple miles down the road, and something inside of me was just like, you need to go back. You need to go back to that church and sit down with those people out front. So I drive back around, and there was 3 people standing out front, or sitting down in lawn chairs. 2 women and a man, all older, 50s, 60s. I sat down with them for 2 hours and had an amazing conversation. I got to hear about all of their testimonies, all of their journeys, their walks through life, their trials and tribulations, their setbacks, and the come-ups, and the way that God worked through them, the way that God cared for them. And it was a beautiful experience. It was a beautiful experience. And that didn't change me, It didn't change me overnight, at least. Obviously, they invited me to their church, and I didn't go. I was gonna go that Sunday, I really was. And then I decided to, per usual, get absolutely hammered drunk on the Saturday, because why would I not? Why would I not get blackout drunk on a Saturday when I told myself I would go to church for the first time, basically my whole life, on Sunday? But obviously, when you do that, you wake up at 2 p.m. surrounded by empty bags of Taco Bell and multiple beers. You're probably not gonna go to church, and even if you wanted to, it's 2 o'clock, service is over. So I thought I kind of missed the ball on that, and I kind of felt ashamed, and I was like, well, I'm just not gonna go. It's not for me. And life continued, work continued, drinking continued, self-loathing continued, and one Saturday, probably about 2 months after that, something just came over me, just like it did when I went to that church that day 2 months prior. And it told me, you should go to church tomorrow. You should go to that church. Those people were kind to you. Those people showed you hospitality. they asked you to go to their church, you should do the right thing and do them the favor and be there. So I decided to go, and it was really weird. It was really, really weird. Lady next to me is like looking down, like half the time, just going like, "Thank you, Jesus. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Oh, I love you so much, Jesus." And in my brain, I'm like, this is weird. This is like a cult. This is not normal. Normal people don't do that. But then I had to dial myself back and be like, okay, Kyle, you don't understand. You do not know these people. You have not walked in their shoes. You don't know. So let's keep an open mind. Let's try and listen to the pastor. The pastor is like deep in the Old Testament. Like it felt like I walked in to a movie. Not even that. It felt like I walked into like the sequel of a trilogy. Like it's the second movie, and I just walk in on it and just sit down and just try to dial in. And I'm just like, I'm lost. I am utterly lost, confused, but I'm just like, okay, I mean, yeah, there's a couple cool messages in here, you know, sure, we'll go with it. And at the end of the day, decided to do a prayer. And me being the selfish man I am, I was like, I'm not going to listen to their prayer. I'm going to do a prayer inside my own head while they're doing their prayer. I haven't prayed since the first time I prayed in my car a few months prior. Let's see if we can get, you know, a twofer here. Let's see if we can get another one going. So I started praying, and the weirdest thing happened. My whole body started shaking, like almost violently. Like it felt like the worst panic attack I've ever had, physically, but emotionally, and I know now more than that, spiritually, I had never felt more calm, more at home. And it lasted for a while. It lasted for like 20 minutes. The shaking did. They actually had me like go up and meet the pastors, and I'm like shaking the pastor's hand like this. And I'm like, I promise I am not on drugs. And they're like, I know you're not on drugs. You got the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, I got something. I got something. It's in me, that's for sure. Don't know what it is, but this is different. This is different. So it was at that time that I kind of decided. I was like, okay, God, you might be real. You're speaking to me, and it's pretty clear that you're pushing me in this direction towards Christ, towards, you know, Christianity. And a week after that, and I did not put two and two together at the time, but it is so connected. A week after that, I got sober. I quit drinking. I find it very interesting that I grew up believing in God, turned 14, stopped believing in God, and within a few months, I'm doing drugs. Stay on drugs and alcohol. And then the moment that I say, I think I believe in God again, I think so, I get sober. And it's a testimony to not only God's grace, but to knowing that left to my own desires, I will fall. I will perish. The flesh does not desire good things, and it leads me into very, very deceptive, wrong ways of living. I mean, I don't have a great way to put it, but so that happened. I was sober for 2 months, which is more than I had been in a long, long time. And then I met a girl, and nothing against the girl that I met. In a lot of ways, she is a great, wonderful person, but it didn't work out. And I started drinking again. Me and her were going out, partying, kind of diving back into the bar scene a little bit, just doing things that I shouldn't be doing. And then we broke it off because we just weren't the right people for each other. We didn't see things eye to eye on a relationship level in a lot of ways, and I think not at the time I didn't see it, but looking back, I don't think that we had the same just outlook on life, I guess, in a lot of ways. So it didn't work. And I tried to get sober again, but I wasn't really doing it with God this time. Not that I had, denounced God, but I just didn't really have God in my life again at this point. I wasn't praying. I wasn't reading the Word. I wasn't going to church. And I kept failing. I'd make it a couple weeks, and then I'd have a bender, and then I'd make it a couple more weeks, and then 14 shots, at the bar. And I'd make it a couple more weeks, and it was just this over and over again. And I was like, what am I doing? What is going on? And I finally just had to give it over. I had to give it over to God. I decided to start actually going to church. One of my best friend in the whole world. I started going to his church with him. Some guy that goes there didn't even know him at the time, gave me a Bible, just handed it to me like a student study Bible. And it's been a journey. I've faltered a lot since then. I only just started actually reading the scripture like in the past week. I listened to all 4 gospels through the Bible app, but to me there's a difference. If that works for you, fantastic, but there's a difference between listening to something, especially when I'm doing other stuff. I was at work, or I was doing the dishes, then setting time aside, sitting down, reading the Word just with your own eyes. It's different. So I just started doing that. I missed out on church for a few weeks. I was sick. I've still fallen into temptation and lust, but I'm 3 months sober. I'm 3 months sober right now. And that is all thanks to God. That is all thanks to the Lord. That is all thanks to Jesus Christ. And I'm still not where I want to be. I just actually DoorDash Taco Bell tonight because I was so busy yesterday. Didn't get to go shopping. But you know what? I'm just gonna get some Taco Bell. And I didn't go to the drive-thru because I was been nervous, kind of had some anxiety today, and it's my own weakness, and I'm aware of that. But I was like, I'm just gonna DoorDash it. That way, I don't have to deal with stuttering to the drive-through. Also ironic that I've stuttered this almost not at all, and then I stutter on the word stutter. That's pure irony, and I hate it. But yeah, I decided to DoorDash Taco Bell tonight so that I wouldn't have to talk to them, and to save time, it'll if I DoorDash it on my way home, then it's there when I get home. It's genius. But that plan failed atrociously because they didn't have half the things I wanted, which that's just annoying in its own right. But the person that was getting my food, called me and they're like, hey, they don't have this, what do you want? Couldn't say it. And they started laughing. They started laughing at me. And in the moment, I got mad. I didn't get mad at them. You know, I have more restraint than that. Um, I just said, ma'am, I have a stutter. I apologize. Forced my way through it, got the word out, hung up. I got pretty upset. You know, I'm in my car driving home and I start being mean, being, you know, kind of vicious in my heart. And, who do they think they are laughing at me? F them. And I had to take a step back and realize that what is that anger? That is the child inside of me that's still afraid. And instead of feeding him with anger and contentment for others, I should feed him with love and grace and the love and grace of the Lord. So I talked with God a little bit, and I'm going to definitely talk to him some more tonight. And I decided to sit down and make this video. So I've skipped over a lot. I mean, obviously, I don't want to be here. We all have a story, and if I was going to give you the entire story, you would have been there for my entire life. And YouTube sadly doesn't let you make 27-year-long videos, so you got a little bit of the condensed version. I left out some stuff. My relationships, I skimmed over most of those or didn't even mention most of them. And there was just certain aspects that were left out. But I guess to summarize it all, I'm a 27-year-old man with severe anxiety, depression, and a stutter, and a host of addictions. And I am actively changing and being saved by the Lord, by Jesus Christ, by the Son of God. And to anybody out there that's struggling, I'm not gonna tell you you have to find God. You have to. I don't feel that that's my place. I think everybody has their own journey. I hope you do find God, but I would say don't give up and understand that your feelings are not always the truth. We as humans are very malleable. We change day to day. God doesn't. God does not change. God is consistent, constant, inherently good, and truthful. So even when we falter, even when we are confused, God doesn't falter, and God is not confused. And I just want to tell everybody that regardless of how you feel, regardless of the choices you've made and the routes that you've taken yourself on and the way that others have treated you, you are loved. You are loved by people around you. You are loved by people that you probably haven't even met yet. You are loved by dozens of things in this world, and at the center of that, you are loved by Christ. So, yeah, that's my little story, and it's ongoing, and it's ongoing for all of us forever. And in a lot of ways, that sounds, scary. Like, oh, I'm never gonna get done. Like, no, that's the beauty. That is the beauty, because we will always need God, and we will always have ways to improve ourselves. And I look forward to that journey. I look forward to that journey and seeing what tomorrow brings. Trying to be less anxious about tomorrow and more excited for what the Lord has in store for me. So, that's my story, everybody. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, and I'll see everybody later. God bless you.